Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I have a wonderful guest, Dr. Karine Wong. She is a robust pharmacist to academia, and she has her own business in a nice dessert treat. I would love to try it one day. So before I go there, I'll let you guys hear it from her and start the conversation. And today, please take notes because you are going to be so engulfed in all that wisdom that she's going to about to share with you. All right, Karine, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Anne. Welcome. I'm Dr. Wong, as you mentioned. To start, I am a pharmacist. I've been one for almost, 20 years. Graduated a long time ago at a ripe age of 22 from UOP, which is a very private school in Stockton, California. Unlike other people, I did not do a residency. I was actually all ready to do one. And I think last minute I decided it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. When you go to CACP and you realize, gosh, that's really intense, or that curriculum wasn't for you, I made a decision not to apply. Instead, I chose to do a graveyard shift in Fresno, California, which is a very remote city in California. And I did graveyard shift for a couple of years there. And I'm telling you, you learn the most when you're on your own because there's no one else to rely on. So that was my clinical foundation. My starting career was a graveyard pharmacist. You learn a lot. And after that, I moved around. I went to Orange County, California, like near Disneyland, and I started to float around to different hospitals, like 9 different hospitals. I was their clinical person there, and soon I became a coordinator at one of the hospitals. I stayed put for almost 8 years there. So I did go up the ranks, and we went to be a director at one point. Didn't like that, but I love being a coordinator. I love to work with the medical interns, the residents, and pharmacy students, and to work with P&T and formulary management. That was my jam. So that's where I am now. I transitioned out of the hospital setting after COVID hit. The COVID really lowered our census and it became mostly COVID floor. So I was like, I'll step away from that. Now I am a certified pharmacogenomics expert. And
And let me
yeah, I know,
start there.
that
I'm
was
going
a
to
hard
start.
test to take. But
What
I
what kind of motivate you to transition out of hospital? Because I think for those listening, probably a few of them are also considering transitioning. And so, at what point, what criteria, question that you kind of tell yourself, all right, I've done it, I did it, moving on, next step. So, what are some of that
oh,
questions at the fork in the road that helps you transition to a new field?
First of all, I love hospital pharmacy. Loved it, loved it. I don't really care for retail. That's not my jam. But hospital pharmacy, I loved it. Around the 10th year, I think I got really bored of it. I mean, have you ever gone to work and go, oh, hey, buddy, what's up? You love seeing your friends, you like seeing the staff. But when it came time to sit down, do patient review or doing the P&T minutes or doing benchmarking and MUEs, you're kind of like, oh my God, like I so did this like 2 months ago, right? And it honestly became so easy that I can literally do this blindfolded. Okay. I mean, that's pretty amazing. When I could do like ADRs blindfolded. Okay. I knew exactly what was going to happen. The rate of hypoglycemic events, the rate of medication errors, I knew it cold. And it didn't change very much from quarter to quarter. And so my meetings were very similar, like this same old uh, presentation findings. I was like, oh yeah, that's my rate. Yeah, we're working on it. I mean, there was nothing challenging there. I think for my personality, it's more of like, I want to leave my day feeling I've accomplished something, like I've saved someone's life or helped someone learn something. I want to feel that way. But when I stop feeling that way and go, oh, I spent 2 hours in P&T meeting, didn't learn a thing, didn't help anybody, didn't make a difference in the health system, time to move on. So that's called, like, I think mental fatigue and just not being challenged. I didn't learn very much, honestly, near the tail end of my career. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do because I'm like, I really love being in the clinical setting.
Mhm.
But one thing I did miss though was when we had COVID, I did miss my students. And I think that's when it really hit me. It's like the students really make me learn and they're just, I love them. I love watching them thrive. It's like
Mhm.
transition from a student to a clinician. That metamorphosis is amazing. It's like when they can like regurgitate guidelines, like, yeah, you go girl. I love it. I love it. And I did that. And that makes me super happy. So after COVID hit, I personally pitched to 3 local pharmacy schools in Orange County. So that's KGI, Western, and ELP. And I said, hey, I'm here. I could do Zoom lectures for the clinical rotation because they can't go in hospitals because of COVID. I can do it via Zoom. And they took me in. So now I precept for 3 schools, and it's been super fun. Like I'm telling you, you don't have to be in a hospital setting to learn codes, to learn cardiology or septic shock. You don't have to. It's nice to see the patient, but it's not imperative. The take-home message is the quality of the education, not how many hours you worked or who you saw, or yeah, you're missing a little bit of that, but you'll get it in like 2 months when you graduate. So
So I'm going to ask, how do you do the clinical rotations when you're not on a site? Like, what are kind of things you engage with students on, and from that perspective?
Well, it's easy because I did so many years of pharmacist recommendation interventions. I have like a plethora of data and cases. So I use those, and I just mask everything, and I put it in cases. Like, here's a case, here's the questions, here's what happened. Okay, so I ask the students, what would you do in this situation? This is a real life situation. Here are your choices. This is what the doctor said. What would you do? And so they have to respond in the essay format what they would do. And I treat them like a pharmacist because I used to be the manager. So I would, if a pharmacist on my staff did something bad, I'd be like the one talking to them. And so I do the exact same thing with my students. I said, if you do not catch a vancomycin-induced AKI, I'm on you like mold on cheese. I'm going to find you, educate you, write you up, okay? All in that sequence. And so the students go, oh my God, she is serious. But that real life attitude makes them take this rotation serious because they know I'm not pulling their leg or making a mock up. These are real cases, and I treat them like a real pharmacist. So that's how I transition. So back to your point with the criteria to switch out from your current situation to a different one is when you can feel challenged, when you don't feel joy going to work. Okay, if I ask you, hey Anne, how was work today? You said, I don't know. Okay. Mm-hmm. You ask me, I'd be like, oh my God, let me just tell you, okay, I did this, and we got this. That is my day. Ask me now how my day is. I'll tell you, I delivered, I made product, I sold to so-and-so, I made so much in sales. I mean, every day is like a milestone. It's never, how was your day? And I'll be like, I don't know, never. And when it gets like that, yeah, you have lost your passion. You're no longer excited by your job. So right now, I would say that is the first thing you look at is, how was your day? Can you answer with concrete answers? If you say things like, I'm busy, or I don't know, you are paying attention. Obviously, this is a job that you clock in, clock out, and get a paycheck. And it's not fulfilling. So if it happens, like enough times in a row, like every day for 2 weeks, it's high time you think about, what am I missing? Is it the students I'm missing? Do I want to teach? That's what I did. I miss my students. So I went to the schools. Okay. If you feel like I want to make a difference in diabetic lives, do what I did and start a company, make products for them. Start with like making a cookie that's keto, or start lecturing nutrition classes, start doing something that floats your boat, that makes you happy. And you can do that on the side. You don't have to transition completely, but you have to find something that makes you happy. And yeah, there's a lot of work involved, but at the end of the day, if you're happy, it doesn't matter.
That's right. And it may not be work, right? Because another sign I would say to my students and people I've mentored is that if you get up and you're like dreading to go to work, or just like another work day, then yeah, those are also signs that you may want to reevaluate. Is it the job, or is it you, or is it a combination of both? And you just need to have a better environment, or you may really love your job, right? However, you just dread going to work at that specific place because there's something else going on in the environment that's making you like, I really don't want to go to the work. So I think those are all good signs to think about, like, especially when you get to that level, and hope you won't even get to that level. But the one thing is that the best time to find a job is when you have a job, right? Like being able to leverage your skill sets and transition over. So with that being said, how did you find pharmacogenomics and I really want to spend a lot of this time talking about how she built out her business and talking about entrepreneurship. So I really want you to kind of talk a little bit about that aspect. So pharmacogenomics plus your dessert on the side, which is so interesting. Like I just never thought like a pharmacist creating a product that others can enjoy. But yeah, you have that knowledge. So okay, your turn.
You sure? We can keep talking all day long. Well, Miss Ann, the pharmacogenomic thing actually happened because one of my colleagues was so inspired by my entrepreneurship that she started to start her own wellness clinic. But she needed a pharmacist who was certified in that field to help her spearhead it. That was me. So I was like, I'll help you get this started. And she actually got investors, she got seed funding. So she's like Shark Tank level. Okay. She's like really getting, and I'm very proud of her because just like probably maybe our clients, she works real hard all these 20 years, working for City of Hope, doing billing or whatever she's doing there. And finally said, I'm not happy. And she came to me and said, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing. But I'm watching your videos. It's so fun and so entertaining. I want to open my own business. I'm like, you want to do like a food business? Like, no, I want to do a clinic. I want to be my own boss. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And fast forward 2 years later, she is now doing it. It's called Santosha Health, and that's what I'm affiliated with. So I became certified because of her. I didn't do it because I love pharmacogenomics. I did it because it helped her spearhead it. And I'm fine with it because as the leading pharmacist of this program, not only can I get to do PGX, I can also do the patient counseling, telepharmacy, and work with physicians that have built relationships with me over time. So I can do all that. The reason why I like her program is because she sends free devices from them, like the remote device technology. Oh my God. It's like a smartwatch, a smart scale, a smart blood pressure. Everything is smart, okay? And it basically measures the vital signs, like everything you need, blood sugars, and gets uploaded to the cloud, it goes into my EMR, and so I can like talk to a patient via Zoom or by phone and have concrete data instead of going, hey, what's your recent record of blood sugar? I can actually see it online and make the right calls. I can know what their medications were and what the last doctor did in terms of like progress notes or their medication changes. So those are cool things I like to do.
Wow. And this is how long, you said it's been 2 years that you've kind of been a certified pharmacogenomics?
No, actually less than a year now. So yeah. And so now I do the rotations as part of Santosha, not part of the hospital, part of Santosha. So it's a hybrid AmCare and clinical pharmacy rotation. So I kind of believe in like doing a little bit of everything, because in hospital, we don't get stuck with one type of patient. We get stuck with patients that are very complicated. And then we have AmCare patients, which is more compliance issues. So we talk a little bit about like, how do you talk to those patients? It's more like asking the right questions, right?
Yeah,
It's
motivational interviewing.
like, what medications did you take? You actually have to pull it out of them. So you have to have really good bedside manners and questions and personality and learn to speak the language without being condescending. So I speak slower, especially those with English is not the first language. I speak slower. I use a lot of gestures. Sometimes I have to be I have to really break it down for them. But hey, whatever works, right? So
yeah, so that's interesting. So that's really, is that something that you do full time or is more part time? And then the next thing we'll talk about is your entrepreneurship with your
well,
but yeah.
so I'm hired as full time now, but the patient load is kind of slow right now. So I'm doing actually part time. So the way I look at it is this: I spend 2-3 hours with students. So that's part time for me right now. So between 9 and 11, I'm lecturing, and then from like 11 to like 1, I'm with a patient, and then from 1 to like 6 p.m., I'm doing my job, my GitList treats work. So my GitList treat actually transitioned over from part time to almost full time now. During COVID, I was part time per diem. It was just like not even going because COVID shut me down. But when the COVID restrictions lifted up, I'm getting pretty busy. And so I'm almost back to full time now with that one. I'm very busy with that. Now I'm actually thinking about launching new flavors. And But
So I'm going to backtrack. So for those that don't know you, because I know you, so I know I'm following, but for those that don't know you, can you kind of take back from the day one or day zero of when you have this idea of wanting to create this brand of dessert, and how did you come up with it? How did you start crafting? Just like take us to like the tiny little steps as possible.
I don't think it'll go that tiny, but okay, I'll tell you the secret, okay? Every entrepreneur has a thing called aha moment. It's the moment in their life where they go, whoa, that's a good idea. You're right. It's like a life-changing moment where you realize that person's right, or you realize something is correct. And that's how ideas are formed from that, whoa. For me, it was in the hospital. It was one day, I was a young pharmacist doing my thing, counseling diabetic patients on the way out home. And this Hispanic gentleman who has A1C of 12%, was non-compliant with the diet, didn't want to take his insulin. So I'm teaching him how to use his insulin. I'm showing him all the fun tools and devices he's got, the new insulins. And now I got to teach him how to carb count. Oh my gosh. And you could tell he just zoned out. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I gotta do this. And he's like, I don't mind doing the insulin. I don't mind doing that stuff, but I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna eat that stuff. I'm not gonna eat any of that stuff that you just told me. And I'm thinking, why not? Like, it's good for you, right? Kale, quinoa, right? Right? And he's like, it doesn't taste good. If you can show me something that tastes good, I'll eat it. You're right. Nothing tastes good. So I go downstairs to the cafeteria and I'm asking my friends who are dietitians and doctors. Dietitians are eating their Twinkies and their yogurts. Okay, that's a good start. So do you guys eat your kale and quinoa today? No, it's too hard to eat. Okay, go over to doctor's table. So you guys eating your kale and quinoa? They're eating their hamburgers and their fries, and they're like, oh, too busy to cook. Got it. So these are the same people who are telling our patients to eat these healthy foods when they're not themselves doing it. And honestly, they probably should be, right? But that's a different story.
Yep.
So that was my aha moment, was how do I expect Hernandez to stick with a diet that I just recommended when no one else is doing it? And it's not their fault. I mean, kale quinoa is something that Whole Foods clients go to, right? It's something that's a very niche area. And back then in 2005, it wasn't a thing back then, it was mostly in salads and it was like Brussels sprouts, right? It's like a thing that was starting to become a trending, but people didn't like the taste of it. And the certain cultures, like the Hispanic culture, doesn't use that in their foods, right? So you cannot change someone's diet because they're not used to that. So that was my aha moment. When I went on maternity leave, I did a few things. I actually wrote a couple of books, during my downtime. I had lots of downtime. So I wrote a couple of books, published it. During my book tour, I had a friend who thought, you know what? I want to do this snack, this treat, where it's like high in protein, low in sugar. And I thought, that's a great idea. And I kind of remembered that incident with Mr. Hernandez. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But I saw this as a vehicle to hit diabetics, to like go and help those who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, right? To get food that's not glucerna, food that's not medicinal. It's like, I can have this. If they sell it at stores and it's good for me. And Skitless Treats was born from that aha moment. And so now if I run into Mr. Hernandez again with his one foot, I will tell him, hey man, I got your dessert. You can grab it at stores. And it's always gonna be low price because I want it to be available to all customers. So I made sure that my profit margins, my cost was low enough so that it was affordable and that it was good and that it was tasting like very, very delicious. My mentor told me this thing. I have a mentor from the SBA, and he said this. He goes, Karine, if you're going to do this, I will tell you a secret. If you want people to buy it once, make it healthy. Market like crazy, like it's healthy, like Kind bars, protein bars, make it healthy. Everyone will buy it once. But if you want them to buy it again and again and again, make it taste amazing. Well, you tell that to a pharmacist, okay? I'm gonna compound this stuff like it's gonna taste amazing. So it took like, gosh, 20 formula changes and taste testing off. I had so many taste testing. So we came up with panna cotta, which is Italian dessert. It tastes like flan. So if you like flan or creme brulee, that soft texture that's mostly found in Asian cultures. Actually, I find out it's very common in many cultures, like Filipino and European, Italy, of course. It's stuff like that, but I use coconut cream instead of whipping cream. So it's a better coconut cream, better cream, and it's layered over real mango or guava or pineapple. And it's fortified with protein. So you're actually having a protein bar in a dessert cup. So it's pretty good. It doesn't taste medicinal or gritty or bland. And it's to use, so it's portable, it's portion controlled. A lot of my friends, actually clients, they buy at the hospitals or do doctors and nurses who like will buy one and eat it in the middle shift, and they last whole 10 hours. They're good. So, and I don't tout it as a weight loss supplement. I just tout it as something that will help manage their blood sugars, because I use agave, so you don't get that postprandial spike afterwards. So again, all this marketing is actually a lot of pharmacy related knowledge, right? You're reducing the postprandial below 180, right? And I don't test it in customers. I test in people with CGMs. Okay, so I'm always looking at the sugars every 30 minutes. So I know for a fact it works.
Wow. So so you have this idea and then you try 20 different recipes and you find the right perfect. And then how did you take that to individuals and selling it and then going to market? And so what are some struggle along the way as you going through this journey that you encounter that you wish other people have told you or share with you, just hindsight overall, that you would have done things differently, if any?
I would say this, that the one mistake I made was, just because it's a good idea doesn't mean you should sell it. A good idea is something that comes to you over and over again. So let's suppose, Anne, you have an idea for, a cookie, okay? And you're like, it was a special cookie that has fiber and collagen, and it has a whole bunch of other stuff that make you like hair long as yours, okay? Like a goddess, okay? And that might sound really cool. Like people with short hair or people doing chemotherapy might want to buy that. $5 a cookie, that's actually a pretty good deal. It's a good idea. And then it comes back to you a week later, and the next day, you have an idea, because your subconscious knows it's a good idea, because it's not really out there, because every day you're looking online, there's no cookies out there. There's nothing out there like it. You're always doing research in your brain. So by the end of the month, you're like, Karine, that's idea of cookies. It's like, it won't go away. I'm obsessed. Okay. Now let's make it then. Make it and make it amazing, like my mentor said. And you make it like chocolate chip with walnuts and oats, and it's amazing. And then I go, I want to buy it, because now my hair is starting to grow real long. Okay. And you're a pharmacist. You can show clinical significance, right? Can't you tell me in a month it's going to grow 2 inches? P-value less than 0.05? You can totally do that. I mean, basically, you have the ability to make it truly significant, like it does work, not just based on what you feel. It's not an emotional thing. It's you love it, but then it's proven. I have proof it doesn't work. In my trial of 20 customers / patients, they ate my cookie for 30 days, and now their hair has grown 5 inches longer, and it's healthy and strong. I will buy that. So if you have, their criteria is that you have someone who doesn't know you, like me, or my sister or brother who doesn't know you, or find you on Facebook or the LinkedIn, and they buy it from you. Boom, you have a business now. So you see how you went from an idea that you played with to like a prototype, which is a cookie, and now you tasted it, you tested it among strangers and given it out, and now people are buying it from you. They're actually giving you money. I had a customer last week who gave me $20. He goes, I want to buy this. I want to buy your panna cotta. And I said, well, actually, right now. He goes, no, I want to buy it. I right now. Can I buy it? I go, right now. I just sold out. And I would take your money, but he didn't understand what I was saying. He's like, read my lips. But he really wanted to buy like 6 chocolates. And they were my most popular flavor that day, but he would not leave my booth. And I felt really bad. I said, take my card. I'll deliver this week. But Yeah, I mean, that is serious business. When people are willing to exchange money for your product or service, you got something there.
Wow. So how big is your service line now? Like, is it you're still operating like within your house, or you actually export that out to somewhere to make at this
Oh no,
point?
I rent out a kitchen. I rent out a kitchen and nearby, like 30 minutes away, where I make the products. That is, so I do adhere to the city and county guidelines in terms of like permits and licenses and stuff like that. So, so sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. All right. So you are basically prototype or 20 recipe prototype. Now you basically have a business, a very flourishing business. Looking back as a pharmacist, now an entrepreneur, anything you would have done differently to the business itself? And then what's three advice you would have for those individuals who want to develop their business? What are some kind of
Okay.
checklists or things that they should start doing or thinking about when they have that good idea?
So the first mistake I made was with the idea. I didn't know it back then. I know it now, but if you go around spending a grand here and there on every idea that you think is going to be good, they'll never fly. So you're going to waste money. So don't spend money on an idea. Spend money on your product. So not your idea, not your prototype, but on your product. That is when you get your license, your insurance, your permits, all that jazz. That's when you go become a business. Everything else is just a prelude to this. And you have, just like anything else, you have to be successful. The idea has to be good, not for you, but for a lot of the people. Okay. Number two, the prototype has to taste amazing, right? If it tastes crappy or not even as good as what you thought it would be, don't do it. Okay. In fact, a lot of people who are in my field now, the industry, they have a great product and they make it as a great good prototype and they sell it. And they go back to a co-packer to make it for them. The co-packer messes up the formula to increase the shelf life, and now the taste is gone. So now their sales have dropped. A lot of the mass production of products are not as popular as the original type because it's price produced. So mine's always handmade. Mine's always small batches, handmade. And so it's always maintained a certain quality. I call it Pharmacist grade quality, right? It's consistent every single time. And so once you have all those things and you have business where you have a product, a cookie that people are willing to buy, then you start spending money. $2,000 for the insurance, the license, the permits, which is about like $500 or so, right? So, and then you start doing your LLC, your marketing. So that's when you throw money at it. And that could be $10,000 in the first year for a product. Okay. I made the mistake of not doing that. I had a partner who, when she was making the cookie, she wanted to make a drink and then she wanted to make a gummy bear. It was like different paths. And I was getting like, you gotta stick with the one. We don't have $50,000 to throw at every single product that may or may not work. And she was doing was she was emotionally attached to the product. She was, I love coconut juice. I love gummy bears. I want to throw money at those industries. And you really can't. It's not personal, it's business. Mm-hmm. So again, you gotta find out follow the money trail, right? If the money's following the cookie, follow the cookie. Okay. So that's one mistake I made, was losing a lot of money the first 2 years, spending on money that I really wish I didn't. Number two, I wouldn't call this a mistake, but I would say it's better to have your full-time job or something that always pays the bill. You will be working hard because you're working a job and you're also working nighttime for your company. Right. So don't quit your job for a position for a company, because most companies don't make $1 million. Most of them don't go to Shark Tank. Most of them don't get the deals. So don't think, oh, I'm going to do this and start selling cookies now. No. You are still a pharmacist, but you'll do this on the side. So the side hustle becomes a business when you start making money. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you don't sell it, it's a hobby. When you sell it, it's a business. The number 3 thing is avoid going to debt, which means don't go on Shark Tank. Don't take loans unless you absolutely need to. Having debt means increasing liabilities. And so your company isn't worth as much anymore because you're owing money to someone else. But if you need the capital for buying inventory, ingredients, that's fine. For example, if you were to get a Costco, I was invited to go to Costco. And I was like, no, because the amount of products and packaging to get one PO order, ridiculous, okay? And then the profit margins aren't great, they're like 10%. So I would lose, I would lose money. I would make money, but I would lose time. I would lose time with myself, my kids, and I'd be exhausted. It's not worth it. You know, it's like, and is it worth it to make 50 cents for every unit you sold, but not see your kids and not be home? It's not worth it, right?
You have this criteria to really kind of saying what is it that you want, what is it that you don't want, and kind of have to make those hard decisions. So it's really hard to say no to Costco. I mean, that's
no, actually, it's not, because for me, it's not about fame. I don't feel happy going, hey, I'm in Costco. No, Costco's super hard. Like Whole Foods, if you can't show movement, they kick you out, and you have to like absorb all the loss. So it's not worth it. You know, I rather sell to people who really do enjoy it, because it's not mass produced. It's gourmet food, and it would benefit those who really enjoy it, like diabetics and pre-diabetics and those who are on a low carb diet. So I don't want to deal with that stressor of having to push sales on people who don't know the product. That's not fair, you know. So I don't feel bad about losing Costco, but I just think, let's see here, Costco, I make 40 cents a unit, but I don't see my kids. Okay.
that's pretty, yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just like, do I really need that? No. So right now, like before COVID, I had 15 stores, for example, very busy, but I barely saw my kids, and I would not have time for students. Never. I was busy, 15 stores. I was always up and down driving all over California. Now I have 3 stores, 1 restaurant, and 1 market, and I'm busy. And I have time for students, time for my family. So it's a nice balance, and I still have time to be a pharmacist. So I'm perfectly happy the way things are. So it's not about how many stores you have or being Costco. It's not. It's more of what is a good balance. But I always had my job until one day I decided, you know what? I'm getting kind of busy with this one. So my company knew about my job, so they were happy to just say, okay, go ahead. So I switched over. So I went for full time to per diem, and now I'm here. So switching out. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, and honestly, if I have to ever go back to where Gillis Treats had no sales because of COVID again, God forbid that happened, I would go back and get a job. That is not hard to do, you know.
True, because then you always fall back, right? I think a major fear, at least, is a self-limiting belief that we put on ourselves. Like, if I move to this new territory, I'm out completely.
I can't get back. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get back. The reality is that you can get back, because you know this, you know it, you have the skill set. It's just a matter of getting back to it. And especially
we're licensed. We'll always be a pharmacist. I mean, it doesn't change. Just because you have kids or you're maternity leave or you just semi-retirement, you can always come back and be a pharmacist. No one says you cannot. It's more of, yeah, your own self-doubt, really. So those are only 3 mistakes: was overspending the first couple of years, and don't go into debt. That is very important. No need to owe money. Oh, and another thing a lot of people don't know is that I don't have a lot of money in my bank. Like, if you think about it, a company is not like your savings account. You know how your savings account, you have like probably, let's say $10,000, right? With companies, we don't. Our books have very little money. We just have enough money just for like insurance and premiums and whatever, right? Because money is a tool. We use it once we get it. We reinvest, we pay our staff, we pay for insurance, we pay for products, right? So a lot of people go, how much money you got? I don't know how much, maybe $2,000, but that's what you're supposed to do. If you have a company and you're sitting on, let's suppose you have a company and you borrow, let's say $50,000. So you have a nice, balance on your books. Doesn't look good to investors because you have all this cash and you didn't spend it to build your company. So it's different from the banking we do as a business is different as a personal person, like a personal account. Personal account, we're always trying to save, and whatever, right? With companies, no, we don't save. We spend everything we have on the company.
To invest in the product, to invest in the people, and you have some to kind of buffer room, but essentially you need essentially investing, right? Yeah. Speaking of that, so you were talking about company, LLC, permit, insurance. So where do you learn all that business legal terms, putting a business together? Like, what are some resources that you use to help you build your company, build your business?
I would say that Small Business Association, SBA, is a very powerful tool. That is what I used in the beginning. And as you get your feet wet, you start to find Facebook forums and whatnot. But SBA covers everything. So it takes you from the get-go, like you're starting a business. What business is it? Is it manufacturing? Is it apparel? Is it, because it's different industries have different regulations, right? So you're a real estate agent, then they take you to the real estate site and tell you how to get your realtor license and whatnot. So mine was manufacturing, food. So it took me to the California Department of Health, took me to the California County, was it the Orange County Environmental Health. So those are the specific governing bodies that I have to get my permits from. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So SBA, there you have it, Small Business Administration. So their website is very useful, and they actually have, and every city has some type, and even like offices that can go in person. Of course, with COVID, maybe more remote webinars, events. So that's something to check out. But they do have very active listing and things to resources, tools, and stuff to help. So that's great. So I'm going to switch gear a little bit, kind of close out our conversations here regarding, we talk about professional journey, your entrepreneurship. So now we're going to kind of talk about like personal finance and financial literacy. So can you kind of walk us through kind of what were 3 best advice that your role model, your parents, or whoever you felt like is your inspired role model that taught you about financial literacy? 3 key financial lessons personally.
Ooh. I would say that if you're graduating soon, you have a huge loan, you have to look at the loan as a debt or a liability. So your positive net worth is 0. It's actually negative, right? And so when you apply for a loan to get a car or a house, it's gonna be super hard. You have to get like money from your parents as a gift, or to get a huge loan at a higher interest rate. So that's why you want to pay down your student loan as fast as possible to get your first house. If you already have a house, you have a car, you don't need to do that. I would say I would slow play it. I would personally just not pay off my student loan as quickly as before. Just pay the minimum amount and use the write it off as a tax deduction. That's what I would do. But in terms of like who mentored me, I don't think anyone really did. I think I just, read a lot. But over the course of my career, I did own several homes and, pay off my student loans, own several cars now. So I would say I'm doing pretty good, but I would say, look at this way. Your salary as a pharmacist is just a backbone to like your body. And you got to think about the backbone has innervations, right? It has like ribs and T1, T2, T3, lumbar, sacral, right? Those are the outlets, right? And so over time, when I was single, I actually invested a lot in 401k. Job 1, invest in 401k and max out all your contributions. That's retirement fund, okay? And a lot of people don't think about that because they think, I want to retire for like another 30 years. Yeah, you just do it. You won't miss the money, okay? It gets taken out before you even get the check anyway. So just max all the way out. And it's really good if your employee even matches you, because it's almost like they're paying you an extra dollar every time you put in your dollar, okay? So just do the 401k, match it. That's 1. Number 2, take your paycheck, pay off your loan, your food, right? Car, whatever things you have, use it to invest in like Fidelity or investments. I have like CDs. Back then when CDs were a thing, I invest in CDs, long-term investments outside of my 401k, so you can totally do that. As long as you make the money now, you can totally do that. As long as you have savings in your own personal account, like 10,000, enough for I think 6 months of rent or mortgage, you're good to go. So whatever is over that, you can go ahead and invest. And that's going to feed the whole body. So now you have your 401k. Now you have Amazon stock. Now you have Bitcoin. Now you have gold. Now you have, silver stocks. You have a little bit of everything. Your hand is in little different pots. And all that's going to feed the body over time. It's going to pay out in dividends here and there. 401k pays out when you retire. Your CD will pay out in 3 months. your Roth IRA will pay out in, when you retire as well, right? So that's how you want to go with it. Then if you have extra money that you're just sitting on, is sitting in your bank account, building up. Well, take that money and buy land. Put a 20% deposit on a piece of land or property that you're eyeballing and use as a rental. Those are just passive income. Passive means you don't do no work. You already did earlier when you were investing, and now the rest is just passive income. So that's how people get richer. The farmer's salary, if you just live on your farmer's salary and just bought a house, paid for student loans, bought your Tesla, you're going to be as poor as the Starbucks person next to you. Okay. It's just like there's no changes. It's just different. They also have a house too, and they also have a car, but you're no different than them. What makes you different is how you spend the extra cash. That's what's different. You don't need $4,000 every month. You don't. You just need maybe two, right? You set the other 2,000 and you invest in, like I said, the Roth IRA, the property, Bitcoin investments. So for me, it was a business. We did all that stuff, and at the end, I said, you know what? I have extra money. I'm gonna take that $25,000 and create my own business. And now that makes money for me. It's not as passive. I mean, still doing all work, but I enjoy it, so it's all good. Yeah. So I would say that my business now is probably worth like $35,000. It's worth a lot more money than what I originally put in.
And that's the goal when you have a business, right? And just like with anything, expect that back in March of 2020, when the whole stock tanked and COVID hit, then things get a little bit gray. But if you have those various streams of income, then if this got cut off temporarily or for now, the other will kind of compensate, right? Versus if you only have one and this one's cut off, then guess what? You're out. Like, you're out of the game.
That's true, right? That's why people freak out when they lose their jobs, right? During COVID, a lot of my higher ups were fired because they were in management roles, and we lost all accounts. And so 4 of my friends who were managers lost their jobs. Most were just said, I'll retire because they're already in retirement, but many of them were not. Mm-hmm. So what do? That was their lifeblood, being a pharmacist. And I felt bad because they didn't have any backup. They didn't have any other, innovations. They didn't have no Bitcoin or Amazon or business to rely on. And so they freaked out. And now they're like trying to look for a job. And there's a little bit of ageism here because there's not a lot of jobs here. And so if you're 55 and over and you're not really keeping up with pharmacogenomics or whatever, you're kind of, finding a job is harder. Let's put it that way.
Right. And then just creating different stream of income. Some will be passive, some will be more active. I mean, your business is definitely active. The rental property is more active-ish. I think it's between. It just depends on how good is your attendance. So I think these are really good information that you're sharing with them, and just hear it from you. I share this repeatedly, and I think sometimes you hear from the different stories and different individuals, and hopefully that kind of sticks with people, right? Like, yeah. And school don't really teach us this type of stuff, financial literacy. We learn it through the journey. For you learn your business through SBA. So there's always someone that you look at or resources that you rely on. So I want to ask, as we close, I'm going to have 2 more questions, and then any final words you have. So if you were to win $1 million from lottery, what would be the one thing you splurge
on? $1 million? Oh my gosh, you asked me a hard one. Honestly, if I won $1 million, I would spend it on my company because I do want to expand it. I have a lot of hopes and dreams for my company to grow. I would also make my book into a movie. That's still my plan.
Which, by the way, your book is on what? I couldn't find it on LinkedIn.
I'll show you. It's called Call Me Doctor. It's based off a Vietnamese pharmacist in Bolsa, which is a Vietnam town in Orange County. And it's basically about an Asian pharmacist who says, call me doctor. Now, in the pharmacy world, we don't call it to the doctors, right? Even though we are. So that's the irony of the title. It's like he actually says it. So you could tell from that title that he's very arrogant, very full of himself. And so the whole story follows his journey as a new pharmacist, getting the 6-figure salary, marrying a beautiful wife, and having illicit affairs with a coffee shop girl. So these are all, very, very seedy. It's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey meets Crazy Rich Asians. If that makes sense.
I was gonna think it's like a crazy rich Asian, but yeah, that's cool.
So
Okay.
it's really very explicit. It's called Call Me Doctor. It's available on BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon. Anyways, my dream has always been to make that into an independent movie, but it's super hard to find actresses and actors who speak Vietnamese to play this part. But that's still my pipe dream. Yeah. But if I were sports on something, it wouldn't be a sport. It'd just be like taking a vacation with my whole family, that kind of thing. Just I'm all about experiences. I would probably go to Cancun or somewhere wonderful and stay for a week there for experience. There's nothing I need to buy. There's nothing I want to buy. It's more of just using the money as a tool to expand, to spend time with my family, or grow my book. Yeah, that's another thing I was going to tell you about. I probably know that I did write 2 books. I also came up with the app, and then good news, I'm going to get paid by the app. Apple Store released my app, and they're going to send me.
Want to share a little bit about your app? Go ahead and share that too.
Okay, so one thing you gotta know that nothing I do here is to make money. Like I don't go, I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm gonna do an app. I'm gonna do a game or no. I do it because I actually like it. And then if it sells, awesome. I did the app because I had a student that worked with me. She loved me so much. She stayed on with me as a mentee. And I said, okay, well, I want to make this app. I've been trying to do it for like years. And so she helped me. So what I did was every night I would quiz her, state board pharmacy questions every single night for 6 months. She passed with flying colors because the questions made her think, and it was all over the place. It was just random hospital questions about internal medicine, critical care, recent guidelines. And I took those questions, that quiz bank, and made it into Pharmacy Pearls. Pharmacy Pearls is an app on iPhone, which is very hard to get, by the way. I had to learn how to code. I had to get a developer to help me, get all the rights and licenses for Apple. Long story short, now I offer it to all my students for a small fee, but they get to do this quiz bank like wherever they are, and it just you pick the answer, and it tells you the answer. If you get it wrong, it tells you why. So it's always explained right there and then, and it's shuffled. So just like anything else, more repetition, the more likely you remember it. So they're just going to go through it. So it's easy. It's all different questions.
Is this to help them prepare for the NAPLEX or just like for clinical rotation?
No, it's for there. Rotations and the exams.
Okay.
So I always recommend to 3rd and 4th years. You're starting out.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I have to check this out. So you have to send me that information because I know I don't have that. When I was trying to look you up.
Yeah, and just my whole point was I have my hands in different pots: the books, the children's books, the adult book, the app, the business, and they're all paying me out in small dividends, but it's consistent. And I'm not trying to make money here. I'm just trying to help people, help diabetics, help pharmacy students,
Mm-hmm. And
then
your
kids read, yeah.
It will reap benefits one way or another, like either financially or just the reward of people like having the impact. And that's kind of similar to this YouTube channel and like kind of all the guests I bring over, because I want to have you guys share your story, your journey, and how your story, I'm hoping that it will influence you guys to really go out there and make a change. If this show is all about mindset and money, and it comes down with I put the word mindset first before money, because it does come down to mindset. You got to change your mindset. You got to have the right mindset, career-wise, personal life, professional life, that you need to really make that change in order for you to have a fulfilling career. So with that, how can folks get a hold of you, contact you if they're interested in any of the plethora of initiatives that you have going on in your life, from guiltless treats to a book to your recent app that you about to publish?
Anywhere. I'm actually everywhere. You could look up LinkedIn. I'm under Karine Wong. I'm also on Facebook as Karine Wong PharmD. Instagram as Karine Wong PharmD. Yeah, or go to my website, My Guiltless Treats. I'm the only one that does all the marketing anyway, so just email me, I'll get it anyways. But if you Google Karine Wong, the only 2 Karine Wongs in the world. There's me and the model. I'm not the model, okay? So Pharmacist. That's me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, and she's very responsive on LinkedIn. That's actually how we got connected. I found her on LinkedIn. We connected. We talked a few times and be like, hey, would you like to be on the show? And she said yes. And I'm like, cool. And here we are. So she is very, very responsive on LinkedIn. So Karine, truly appreciate your time today. I hope for those out there watching this video, you've learned a lot. Reach out to her with more questions from hospital pharmacy, clinical pharmacy rotations, pharmacogenomics. She's like jack of all trades, master of a lot, it sounds like. So truly,
Master is stretching. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
her energy is just so infectious, and that's why I love her on this show. So I hope you guys having fun watching this video. If you have other career paths, individuals you want me to interview, please drop into the comment box. I'm very active there. And as always, my YouTube warriors, you gotta change your mindset in order to have a fulfilling life. With that, see you guys next time.